Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja, and in this segment, we are going to discuss how swastika was hijacked by Adolf Hitler. A very interesting topic. Swastika is one of the most misunderstood symbols of history. It has a very complex history that we need to unravel. Let us start with the different topics that we are going to discuss. It is important from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 1 and 2. From the perspective of prelims, facts are important. So what does this news tell us? Victoria, this belongs to Australia, bans display of Nazi symbol in Australia first. Secondly, New South Wales has become the second state in Australia which banned the display of swastika, and that is not related to educational or spiritual purposes of the Hindus, Buddhists and Jains, but the display of swastika is banned, but for religious and educational purposes it can be used. So what is this entire complex history of swastika that has again gained traction in the media? Because of the rising anti-Semitism in countries such as France and Germany, this becomes important that we ban such fascist symbols which are not actually the original swastika, but of course which has been made distorted by the Adolf Hitler's fascist regime. So swastika is very different from the crooked symbol of fascist German Reich. Why? We will talk about that. You know, one thing that we have to keep in mind over here, that whenever we are going to discuss these kind of topics, we have to become extremely emotion free first. Secondly, we have to understand whenever the origins of something gets distorted, it is not actually an attack on that religion, but attack on the distortion and how it becomes very difficult to discriminate or differentiate, not discriminate, differentiate between the two. Not only in Australia, but also in Netherlands, the Dutch police is looking for miscreants who hoisted a swastika flag in one of the villages bridge, and US is also getting into a legislation which is talking about banning swastika. So what is all this? We have to understand it from an open perspective. Now let's talk about swastika. What is swastika? Swastika is a Sanskrit word that is actually su asti. That means su means to be good, okay? Su means good, to be good, and asti means to exist. This is the meaning of it, okay? And it basically is synonymous with good fortune or well-being. The motif is like a hooked cross, and it appeared in Eurasia first. So many of us might be thinking that it just belongs to the Hindu culture, but no. Before it was seen in Hinduism, it had a proliferation in many cultures that was spanning even Europe, in Western Europe. So its history can be dated back to 7,000 years ago, but many carbon dating sites have given us a proof that it is older than this as well. Perhaps representing the movement of the sun through the sky. The movement of the sun through the sky can be seen with the help of, or can be predicted with the help of this motif. And as you see, that not only that, but it also shows the four mottos in life. That is very, you can say it is etched in the Hindu scriptures. Artha, Kama, Moksha and Dharma. Moving on, if we talk about the resurgence of it in the 19th century, when Europeans became very interested in the Indian culture and the East Asian culture, they started to read more about or study more about swastika. But the German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann, he discovered the hooked cross on the site of ancient city of Troy, and that was in the year 1871. Then he started to discover more such motifs in different places. Then he saw maybe there is a relation between the ancestors of Germany and many other different cultures as well. So significant religious symbol of our remote ancestors. This was one of the description about swastika motif by the discoverer, and he ensured that there is a relation between the cultures that were proliferating in the beginning of the era, and that showed shared Aryan culture that spanned not only in Asia but Europe as well. So he also thought that there is a similarity between Sanskrit and the German. So in order to, predict a relationship between Germans and a relationship between Aryans, he discovered more about this motif. Okay, but you see that swastika was loved by the entire world. It was loved by the entire world. Why am I saying that? Because I am presenting you, this is from the USA. This box is a fruit box, and it is showing the word swastika and also a symbol. Although in Hindu cultures, we see a symbol like this, right? This is the symbol. But you see the symbol is reverse over here. Moving on, you see that this is a pendant that belongs to Coca-Cola in the shape of a swastika. Again, these are cards which are having the swastika symbol. Many countries had these motifs proliferating among their cultures before Adolf Hitler perverted it. Moving on, you see another history that is associated by it. It was used by the American military units, this motif, in its different wings during World War I. It could be seen on RAF planes as late as 1939, when the Second World War began. It was also proliferating or found aplenty in the regions of ancient Greek, Celts and Anglo-Saxons, that is Eastern Europe, Greece and Celtic region. Some of the oldest examples have been found in Eastern Europe. Can you imagine? And that ranged from the Baltic to the Balkans. So you can see that this culture was nothing to be worried about before Adolf Hitler came up and took this symbol as its party symbol. Moving on, now let's talk about another very important fact. Rudyard Kipling featured the swastika symbol on many of his book covers, probably signifying the importance of India for Rudyard Kipling. It was also used by the Scouts in Britain as a symbol until 1935. For the Navajo people in the US, the right-facing swastika was a symbol of friendship. So it was very synonymous with good prevailing. In different culture, it meant the same. Next important fact about it, next very interesting fact about it is, this is a bird. Okay, it's a figurine of a female bird. I'm moving away so that you can see. Okay, and this is made from the tusk of a mammoth, made of ivory. Dates back to 15,000 years ago as according to carbon dating, and it was discovered in 1908 at the Paleolithic settlement of Mezin, which is near the border of Russia. Okay, and it is the oldest identified swastika pattern, and it actually resembles a fertility sign. Okay, this is a bird, and I don't know if it is possible for you to see in it, but I can see this is the symbol that it is drawing, like this. Okay, so these kind of intricately related symbols are found on this torso, on the torso of the bird, and you can see that this symbol dates back to such an old period of time. In its original form, it has a very good meaning. What went wrong and what actually is still going on wrong with this symbol, we will know about that. And this particular architectural symbol also is showing swastika. It is from the Museum of Kiev, and you see Kiev Museum is, of course, Kiev is in the news. It is the city in Ukraine. So in Kiev Museum, these artifacts which have been preserved show us that it does not belong to Hitler. Moving on, now this is a very important, another very important textile, you can say. This is a textile and it is said, it is believed that it belongs to a Slavic princess. Slavic princess, and the swastika that is presented over here, see, it is believed that she wore this as a collar to ward off evil. Again, same, almost the same meaning that we have in different cultures. So how was it hijacked by Hitler? Now, Adolf Hitler, when he invented his own party, he was looking for a symbol, and he discovered swastika to be an appropriate symbol. How did he make it? He rotated the swastika to the right. Okay, so this branch went over here, and he omitted the 4 dots of the swastika, and this came to be known as 𝐃𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢, and this was adopted as a party symbol of Hitler in 1920. Then a law was passed in May 1933 in which the unauthorized commercial use of the hooked cross was banned, and this was the time when the Third Reich, the German Reich, the fascist regime of Germany started gaining its ground, and it was totally based on, according to some analysts, on racial purity, because it was anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic meaning to be against Jews. Anti-Semitic, that means to be against Jews. So as we all know, the Holocaust that was created against the Jews, it was gaining traction in Germany, and Germany, the Germans, Adolf Hitler said, because they are racially purer than the Jews, so that is why they are believing that this particular symbol will help them in getting those facts, those theories validated. And many analysts also said that because Adolf Hitler was brought up in Benedictine monastery in Austria, in which these motifs, the swastika motifs, were very much in use. So it might be that because he saw this motif, he tried to relate the discovery of swastika and Sanskrit's relation with the German. Based on that, it is possible that he created this particular symbol as the political sign. And the color scheme he chose very carefully. I am moving this side. You see, the color scheme is such that it is based on the colors of the flag of Imperial Germany that went from 1871 to 1918. Now, this particular flag, because the color scheme was so similar, it said the Imperial Germany were against democracy. So the same, in order to perpetuate the same feelings, he did that. Most political parties in democratic Germany did not have a political logo, but Communist Party and the Nazi Party were exceptions. Moving on, this logo is also showing us Hitler holding a flag of Nazi Germany, and of course these people, the soldiers, are doing the Nazi salute, which is banned in many countries. And of course this flag edict, which pertained to the flag of fascist Germany. Fascist is what? Fascist. Fascist government is a government in which the ruler, the dictator is the ruler, and nobody is allowed to disagree with the ruler. So that is a fascist government. The flag edict said that this flag has been adopted to connect the glorious past of the German Empire to powerful rebirth of the German nation. Together they embody the power of the state and the inner solidarity of the national circles of the German people. Now in 2017-18, it was seen that in France, more than 15% of violence has increased in France against the Jews. In Germany, it was more than 70%, 70%. So that is why these all ideologies, fascist ideologies, anti-Semitic ideologies need to be curbed. So as we see that Nuremberg race laws, these were the Reich flag law. Reich flag law means the law which prevailed at the time of Reich Germany, the fascist regime of Germany. Swastika flag would constitute the official national flag of German Reich. This was that. Law for the protection of German blood and German honor. This was also passed on the same day, showing that Germans were a purer breed, They were a purer race as compared to any other race, especially the Jews. Jews were banned from raising the new German flag and displaying the national colors, the color scheme. Moving on, we talk about the aftermath. What did this particular move do? Now, when Nazi Germany was defeated in 1945, the Allied governments, they outlawed the the Nazi organization along with the symbols which had a connotation with the Nazi Germany, including the swastika. So, today in Germany and other European states, public display of Nazi symbol, which also includes the internet, is prohibited by law, and criminal proceedings can be started against any person who is defying the law. Also, if we see with the relations of swastika with different religions, it's not just restricted to Hinduism. Now, in Hindu philosophy, various things come in force, like we have 4 yugas, okay, or cyclical times, the 4 aims of objectives of lives, Kama, Dharma, Artha, Moksha, 4 stages of life, and the 4 Vedas, okay. So, it can be signifying any of these or all of these. Again, in Buddhism, it is known as Manji in Japanese, okay. It signifies Buddha's footsteps, and to Jains, it means the spiritual teacher. So you see that it is not only culturally important for Hinduism, but also other religions as well. But cultural appropriation, when it means taking anything from a culture and appropriating to another culture, what happens? The original gets distorted, okay? And whenever that happens, it can be harmful to the original culture. So cultural appropriation was something that did a lot of harm to swastika. Now, its use in politics is worrisome or not? It is. Even today, racist neo-Nazi gangs use the sign to desecrate Jewish graves or houses of worship. Now, I'm not talking about swastika. I'm talking about Hakenkreuz, which was the distorted swastika. Then, because of the rise of, in the world today, we are seeing ultra-nationalism is rising, anti-immigrant views are rising, racist policies are gaining more traction. So they have increased, and this can be seen as there has been a rise of many such propaganda policymakers. Now in June we see Marine Le Pen, the French far-right leader, won a historic 89 seats in 2022 French legislative election. Again, anti-Semitic sentiments are rising in France. Viktor Orban, Hungarian Prime Minister, and Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil, they are sometimes called or being alleged as fascist, of having fascist leanings. They are inclined towards fascist policies. They do not want to be, do not want anyone to disagree with their dictatorship. So, because of such instances, what happens? Its outlook, the outlook of people against such symbols also rise. Now, what is the contemporary notion? Is there still any hatred? There is. With respect to the facts I'm producing here, in 2020, an Indian student in the US faced a backlash on social media when she said that we should portray the swastika as a peaceful symbol and it should be taught in schools. She faced a backlash. Before the 2021 Olympic Games in Japan, Japan decided to drop the Japanese symbol, the manji, the swastika, for temples on tourist map and replace it with pagoda. The decision was also facing backlash. Until recently, the Finnish Air Forces used a swastika as an insignia on its badges. Now it has dropped. Finland has dropped it on RAF planes as well. New York State Senator introduced a bill in the New York Senate in 2021, which said that teaching in schools, it should be taught that swastika is an example of a hate symbol. But many communities, Indians form a large community in the US. The World Hindu Council of America urged the New York Senate to differentiate between the swastika and the Nazi Hakenkreuz. Okay, so Hakenkreuz and swastika are different. That should be taught. Now, this is a prelims-based question. We have to solve it. Recently, which country has resolved to bring in a legislation that bans swastika? Finland, Ukraine, USA, Australia. Now, because of one thing we have to ensure here that we know about the position of swastika in different countries. USA, because there is the freedom of speech, swastika, display of swastika is not banned. Okay. Let me tell you one thing. Now I'm going to announce the names of those people who have answered the last question correctly. So if you have done it, please stay. If you haven't, answer this question and you can move on. Okay. So just give me a moment. So yes, my question was about ILO only, the tripartite organization, the only tripartite organization. Many of you have answered it correctly. Let me just take the names. Anjali, Praveen, Jaswinder, Akshay, Aditi, and Ayushman, Raju, Mukesh, Tina, Chitri. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Raj and Mini Sharma, Sudarshan, Megha, Anurag, RAS Sanjeev, Chief Anand, Sudarmani, Vijay. Also, okay, your name is Rancho, Vijay. Then Sakshi has answered it correctly. Roshan, Raj, Bilal. Bilal has answered one question. Youth in India report I asked you about. It's released by Mosby. That is correct. Good, Bilal. Simi has answered it correctly. Gunsha, Little Things has answered it correctly. Then Sandeep has answered it correctly. Ganesh, Anand. Okay. Daksha has answered it correctly. Bharat, Bharati, Pallavi, Arunima. Also Ranjit Kumar, Khushi, Raghav, Kanishk, Sai, Sarika, Rahul, Anuj. Also Kumari Anjali. Again, Sanjana has answered it correctly. Then aspirant Khushwant, Janvi. Music with Simran Joshi has answered it correctly. Also Rajvi, Anais, Kumari Twinkle, Harish, Karuchola, Alpha Fox, Priyanshu, Sandeep, Javed, Nikita, Sudhanshu, Divya, Pritika, Akash, Aditya, Hussain, Alok, and yes, Alok. That's it. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Answer this question as well so that your name comes into the next segment. Thank you so much.